Of course, express my sincere gratitude to the organizers and all of you for the opportunity of being invited to this great institution this evening. Whenever I have opportunity of being invited, occasions like this, for me, is especially when Nigerians, Africans are involved, is an opportunity of saying thank you for being representative and ambassadors of our dear country and continent. Yesterday, I was in Strasbourg, in France, talking to the European Parliament. And I did mention to them that Africa, and indeed Nigeria, remains the last frontier for global development. Because today everybody knows that Africa and country like Nigeria holds enormous resources that is needed for tomorrow. Africa is second biggest continent by land size, second by population, holds the highest amount of natural resources of any continent, but most importantly, have huge population of young people that can drive production for tomorrow. But it remains a continent of poverty for reasons. And when I look at the topic today that we're going to discuss, bridging the gap. So I was coming here, I was discussing with my colleague, and I said, bridging the gap. But they are the bridge, so they should be the one telling me what to do and everything. And I came in and I said, maybe I'll just do a few introduction and we do a conversation. Because with that, I'll learn from you. Looking at the future of our continent today, looking at the future of Nigeria today, nobody stands a better chance to help in that bridging the two worlds, in that bringing change than you. Because you know what is happening there, and you're opportuned to be where they call first world. We're there in the third world. So there's nothing I can tell you except to learn from you. I did tell your colleagues outside, I said, I've had opportunity like you are in going to some of the best schools, but mine was different. I was actually trying to know whether they have a different brain than what we had when I was going to those schools. And after that, then I decided, so you hold a key, a critical key to unlocking what is happening there. Because you are here experiencing what it means to have a leadership that is competent, a leadership that has capacity, a leadership that has a character, a leadership that has a compassion and commitment to change a society. And then you look back in your own continent and country, you're seeing the opposite. Everything you study is bad news. And that led me to what I did, my tweet on Monday. I said, are we cost? Are we the cost? Because there must be something wrong. So you are the ones that are going to bring that which you're seeing, which you're going to bring what you're studying, that knowledge, to become part of that change. So that's why I said you're the bridge. You are the ones that are going to say, well, listen, we cannot do it this way. We're going to leverage what you're studying here. Otherwise, your education is not about just going to school. It is about being able to use what you've learned in building a better society, in contributing to a better society. If you don't do that, your education is wasted. So you are the bridge. You are the people who are going to help us through advocacy, through your involvement, through this and everything. When we talk about somebody being governor, being minister, being this, you don't need to be in those positions to be part of change. You don't need to be. When I was governor, people will often ask me, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do this? And I said to them, no. I was able to do that because that's how I lived my life. I was able to do that because that is what I've realized, what I was able to learn in those schools that I've been. So I can say no to this. We cannot do this. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. So I didn't become governor and just start cutting the cost. But because I've lived here, I've seen people in offices here, I've seen people come to great schools where I have been to lecture. I was opportuned. In my days, I met George Soros in London School of Economics here when he came to lectures. As one of the things, I met people like Bill Gates in Harvard. I met Warren Buffett in Canada. So when I've seen these people working like normal human beings, when I went to back and people are trying to turn me into Superman, I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. These people who had this opportunity have lived a normal life. In fact, as governor, if you look at it, I won Brigade Prize for health. It was one of those. There were about 4 of us that won that. And Brigade came to Nigeria. We had an appointment with him for 4 p.m. Of course, because of the way by 3:45 we were there. But what is shocking, 2 of us came late. And by 3:30, he was already seated waiting for us. And one of us said, hey, listen, he's not the world richest man. Look at how this man is. So he's a human being. I was behaving. Meanwhile, those of us whose country was not worth anything, we came late and was even coming with some people who were constituting nuisance to the whole place. When he just walked down from his room in Hilton, I was sitting down and waiting for us. So that is what you're going to bring. You're going to bring that civility and order. You're going to be able to say, no, this is wrong, this is right. This is how we can build a society. We have learned what does it make a society to develop. Today we talk about development. What is the critical areas we need to invest? Everybody knows that today you talk about development, the first thing you need to invest in is education. The more a country is educated, the more developed they are. So why are we not investing in that? We're not going to be talking about building physical infrastructure without building the human infrastructure that would drive that physical infrastructure. Everybody knows that countries that, when you talk about development, you talk about human development index, we're going to talk about health. What is your life expectancy? I met, when I was in European Union yesterday, somebody said, oh, I'm from Luxembourg. Oh, I'm from Monaco. I'm from this. And I said, you have the highest life expectancy. You have this and everything. And what is it that they are doing that is different? Why don't we do the same thing? That becomes the critical. So you are that bridge, that issue, that topic you want me to discuss. How do we power and inspire change? It begins with you, without being in office. Leave those titles that you see. Before you get there, your behavior, your conduct, your character, everything is what it will inspire people. It's what makes a difference in society, where you see that people, simple things, people are queuing up here and somebody jumps the queue and you say, no, it's wrong. It's right. When you start doing that, it makes all the difference. It changes society. As governor, I always tell people, I had a young girl in JS1, Junior Secondary School 1. I came to their secondary school. I promised them I was going to do something within 3 months. Because I went to all the schools, all the senior prefects had my phone number, everything, and I promised them I'm going to do this. By the time you come back in January, I was there sometime in October. In January, I came to that local government. I didn't do that. For one reason or the other, they didn't bring it up, so we didn't do it. We came to that local government in January. I saw the principal, everything, everybody. How are you? Your Excellency, everything is okay. Everything is good. But I haven't fixed that thing, I promise. And when I said, question time, this young little girl in front of me raised her hand. And I said, let me start with this little daughter of mine. And he said to me, Governor, why do you make promises you don't keep? And guess what happened? The principal and everything ran to stop her. And she started crying. I said, no. Maybe she has a problem. Maybe there was a promise I didn't keep. So I want to learn that promise I didn't keep. And he told me, he said, listen, you came to our school, and she was right. But other people were calling me His Excellency. His Excellency is supposed to be an example, excellent person people can emulate. They didn't have the courage she had to say I was wrong. And I said to the commissioner, we must give her the check with the apology. And we ran around. Within 2 or 3 hours that I was there, I got a check and give her. The same principal and everybody came and carried her and was dancing out of the hall. But they didn't have the courage to say to me, you were wrong. They were busy calling me His Excellency. So that excellency is not a title. It is something that differentiates you from the society. It's something that has to go with productivity, with character, with behavior, with compassion. So it's not just, oh, His Excellency. Excellency for what? You people are here, you know what it means for when someone have excellent. You have to have pass, good, very good, best, before excellent. So to reach that, it is not a title, it is work. So you don't have honorable. Honorable for what? You don't have distinguished, like a distinguished senator. Why will you be distinguished from other people when you're incompetent? So what distinguishes you from the other people? When you don't have the capacity, when you don't have compassion, you don't have the commitment or character to have that. That's what you're going to bring. That's what makes a difference in the society. So leadership, that leadership and power to inspire change is what is lacking today in Africa. You can't inspire change when you're stealing public money. You can't. You can't inspire it when you're not doing the right thing. When you're not showing in empirical, verifiable evidence how you're managing public money. So people say to me, oh, why are you doing this? Oh, why are you doing this? Oh, why are you trying to cut this cost of this? Why are you doing that? And I say, listen, we must do things differently. Because we need to educate our people. We need to do this. It's not an easy thing. If you follow me when I was in office and everything, and I got changed to be in politics from school like you. If you follow me when I did this, you will see that it wasn't easy. I was quarreling with everybody. Nobody was happy with me. I always tell them, one of my greatest supporters today used to be a president then. I'll come into his office and say, Peter, nobody is happy with you. Nobody. What type of person are you? Everybody I've met, not one person is happy with you. Times he would walk, virtually say, leave my office. And I go to his chief of staff, who will always be, and he said, can't you see, Mohammed, you're fond of this boy, but nobody is happy with him. I say, Mr. President, people don't look at my manifesto. I never promised happiness. It wasn't part of what I promised. We all have our business. We have people who are in the entertainment industry, whose job is to make people happy. So why would somebody like me who say, I'll fix education, I'll fix health, turn to start making people happy? What would Davido, all these people, and Flavor, what would they be doing if I'm not going to start making people happy? I don't sell ice cream. I'm in government. So people are bound to be. Because of it, I was removed from office twice. Moved, pitched, go quarrel with people, come back, and everything. People want to have offices that don't make meaning, essays, this, that. People want to travel with me. People want to work with my wife. And they wonder why you're the only governor without office of first lady. And I said to them, I live with my wife. She never campaigned to be anybody, to be anything. So why would I now create an office for her with public money, budget public money, even have advisors? What are they advising her about? How to live with me, or how to do anything? Now, two of us live together. Two of us are very close. It's the closest friend I have. Everybody knows that. But she never wanted. Today you will see me saying I want to be president. Have you ever seen my wife say she wants to be president? No. So if I win, she will be the president's wife. Not have another office that's the office of first lady. She's already first lady by name, but not office. Because there's no such office. The office is me. And that's it. So when we stop now, people who benefit from it create their own confusion. That's what we try to do. And for me today, I enjoy you to be part of this change. It's your society. Some of you will get great jobs here. Some of you will be in position. But remember, you are part of that country. You are part of that continent. And you will be part of changing it. And changing it is not sophisticated. It is just by people doing simple, good things. Doing the right things and saying, no, this is wrong, this is right. We have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. And that's what I'm telling to European Union parliamentarians yesterday. We don't need aid. We need leadership. We have what it takes. Africa is a great continent. Nigeria is a great continent. There's nothing, and I can say it to anybody, having been everywhere, we have far more to make us a great country than most countries we today admire or live in. So thank you for the opportunity of this introduction. Thank you very much.
To Oxford. And the student president there, Anita, I believe you've met, spoke very highly of the session, and 2 years later, she was still talking about it. And I started to feel some FOMO, fear of missing out, and decided we needed to bring him to Imperial, because why should Oxford have everything good? So, yes, and since then, it's been clear that you place value on engaging with students and young people. So my first question is, why do you choose to speak at universities and spend time with young people, and what do you hope to take away from these conversations?
Thank you. Well, actually, if you follow politics, it was surprising that most debates in American politics, presidential debate, is in universities. Most people who want to launch their campaign is in the universities. And today, even in politics in the UK here, there's a silent competition between Cambridge and Oxford. I'm sure you're aware. Imperial, I'm sure, is now going to join and upset them because it's happening here in London. But if you look at from Margaret Thatcher to Tony Blair to Boris Johnson, to all of them, because I know as an alumni of Oxford, it's always, an Oxford person or Cambridge. So, but why is this so? Because you are the future. The students, the young ones are the future. It is about whatever we are doing today in Nigeria that is wrong. The abuse that is happening today will take its revenge on you. Because it's you that will suddenly, with a bad society, an insecure society, lawless society. Most people who are operating there now won't be alive when it wasn't. They won't be there. So it is good to talk to you. And because of my belief in what I tell you, that the more a country is educated, the better. It's the education that drives change. That you have seen, whether it's plain, fast train, this is all knowledge. You can't go to my village and get people and say, hey, wait a minute, go and construct a building. They've never read architecture. So you go to where the greatest investment any nation can do today, the greatest assets of nation is no longer calculated by natural resources, by human resources. The knowledge, we're an age of knowledge economy. So you have to speak to students. You have to be part of it. If you want to drive change, you go to them. And that's why I'm going around school. And I'm learning from you also, because you have the great minds and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So the audience have submitted questions for you via the form. So the first segment of the discussion is going to be looking at your personal journey. And a lot of questions are asking about what shaped you and what grew and how you grew into leadership. So the first question we've got is, what inspired you to step into leadership and what were your first steps?
Quite frankly, it's a long story to tell you how I got involved in this. As I am saying, when I started it initially, I can tell you frankly what I thought. I thought I have offended God because I wouldn't have been in it. However, I'll quickly tell you what happened to me. In 2001, I went to Kellogg Graduate School. I did tell you a story that I went to Oxford to do an MBA. And 3 months after, the dean of the school called me, said, what do you do for a living? And I told him, I'm doing this, I'm a businessman, I'm doing well and everything, you've reached this and I'm a director in this bank. He said, no, you should be teaching MBA, not reading it. I'll advise you to do these programs. So I was in Kellogg Graduate School to do a 3-month course. And the dean of the school, who had been there since 1957, called Professor Donald Jacob, took us on a course called the World Economy. You see this in YouTube, I say it every day. World Economy. This was a 90 days course. After 2.5 months, almost 80 days, he never said anything about Africa. But he was teaching us world economy. So and that was his last day before he leaves the school. The last section before he leaves the school. So a day before the last day, I raised my hand. I said, Professor Donald, you haven't said anything about the African economy. He said, do I want to know about African economy? I said, yes, I'm from Africa and I paid $40,000 for this job. For this thing. And you have not said anything about my continent. He said he will tell me tomorrow. Tomorrow is his last day. That last day, the entire Northwestern University hall was filled up. Top people, McDonald's CEOs, everybody that's taught over the years, since 1957 were there. And everybody was looking at him. And when he finished, he turned to me and said, Peter, would you want to know about African economy? I said, yes. He looked at me and said, there's nothing called African economy. Nobody plans with Africa. This was 2001. He said, have you ever seen African specification in car? there's European certification, there's Asian certification, there's Arab certification, there's American spec. So where is? I kept quiet. In your country, they have 10 years, 20 years, 30 years economic plan. Quite frankly, I haven't seen one, but I believe it will be somewhere. So I said yes. That is, he said he would like to see it. Join me for lunch. I'll be very quick. Join me for lunch. So after lunch, so when he finished, I followed him, joined him for lunch. And after lunch, he said, let's take a walk. If you know Kellogg Graduate School very well, it's in Bank of Lake, Michigan. So when we finished lunch, he said, let's take a walk by the lake. As we were taking a walk, he brought out, he said, do you have any of your country's currency? I said, yes. He brought $100 out. Then the biggest denomination of our currency was 100 naira. So I brought 100 naira. He said to me, which of these two currencies do you prefer? And it was 100 naira to $1. I said, the dollar. So he said I should keep his $100 and took my 100 naira. We did that about the poll again. He said to me, Peter, let's talk. Can you bring out that money? I felt, oh, am I going to lose something I've not gained? I brought it out and said, which of these two currencies do you prefer again? I said, the dollar. He said, why? And I told him why, because I told him before, it's 100 naira to $1. So if you give me 10,000 naira, and I've given this, he said I should sit down. We sat down at one of the sitting places there, and he said to me, Peter, it costs more to print the naira than to print the dollar. Because naira have multiple colors, the dollar is just green and white. And you prefer that. The only reason why you prefer another country's currency to your currency is the amount of faith you have in your country. You have no faith in your country. Economy is driven by faith. And you don't have faith because there's no hope in your country. Anybody can tell you anything. I've been teaching economics. I've been in this school since 1957. And that's what I'm telling you. Chinese people keep their money in Chinese yuan. Malaysia has a Malaysian ringgit. Singapore and Singaporean dollar. There was no euro then. Germans in German marks. Italians in Italian lira. British in pounds. And it went round and round. But they prefer another country's currency because of the faith. Can I ask you for a favor? And I said, what is that favor? He said, we've been interacting with you for the past 3 months. Are you worth this amount of money? Are you worth $1 million? I said, yes. Are you worth 2? I said, yes. You worth 5? He said, let me ask you for a favor. I said, what is the favor? Go back to your country and participate in building public wealth. Public wealth enriches everybody. Individual wealth impoverishes everybody. It doesn't matter whether you have too much money, you are safe from that poor country. You can contribute. Where you have reached in life, you can afford to buy your food, meet up your obligations for the rest of your life. But your country needs people who can sacrifice and turn it around. And I got back. A lot of other things happened, and I decided I'm going to be part of this. That's how I started my politics, which I've lost a fortune, personally. But every day I have reason to believe that I have to do this, because I could see the impact in the society in a small way. So what drives me is that this is doable, and I keep being encouraged by people like you who are saying, no, we cannot continue this. Oh, we cannot continue this. It's a difficult thing to operate where everybody is saying, oh, why will you leave money? Oh, why won't you do this? Oh, why will you do this? Why don't you do this? Why? But you're also seeing people who are beneficiary of your sacrifice saying, this is the right thing to do. This is the right way to go, and everything. So you said, okay, let's continue doing it. So that's what encourages me, because there are a lot of people today who want that change. even when we have those who live off the establishment and old order insisting, it will never happen. And I believe that we will continue to push it. Change is not easy. It doesn't come off overnight, because they have for enemy all those who live off the old order. Every day we're quarreling with them, we're arguing with them, and all that. So in a year, I asked European Union people before, I said, how many people want to be president in Africa, and came to you to talk about relationship between Europe and Africa? They said no. I asked people, how many presidential candidates moving around? I've spoken to many schools from Kellogg, Harvard, of course, then them, you know, Oxford, Cambridge, everywhere. I was in a university in Nigeria last weekend, and here I am today, and speaking at an event tomorrow in Nigeria. So who is doing this? Nobody, because it's not the traditional way of doing it. The traditional way is to settle with different camps, and everybody takes his position in his own camp and be, you know, because it's been a sharing thing. So if you tell you what you're going to get in the court, you come up with your own form of thuggery, killing, everything. But we're saying this can't continue. It's not sustainable. Well, I think it's very easy, because you cannot have any ambition that makes you not to be compassionate, not to have moral, is not worth pursuing. It's like a life. Unexamined life is not worth living. You must ask yourself, why am I doing this? What impact am I making? So I can, for example, I'm not desperate to be president. I'm desperate to see Nigeria work. And anybody can make it work. You know, I lived here. I wasn't anybody here. I wasn't in government here. But I went to Lloyds Bank and they borrowed money, did a business, earned a living, bought a house and everything. So same thing goes when I had the opportunity of being a governor. I can't say, oh, well, listen, now I'm governor, let me steal their money, buy a house here and everything. And it's one of the things we're fighting today, where people, they know Peter Obi does not have a house in London, or a house in Lagos, a house in Abuja. Suddenly he's elected governor, or becomes this, and then he goes to build a big house, even invites reverends and ordained people of God. Everybody comes celebrating the criminality. This shouldn't be. You know, everybody who is there knows where the money came from. But instead of calling police to arrest this man for stealing their money, they are celebrating it. So we cannot continue to celebrate criminality. It will not work.
Thank you. Okay, and now I want to move from personal foundations to a theme that came up a lot as well. And this is understanding how real change happens in difficult systems. So you often say that Nigeria's problem is not policy, but implementation. How can leaders rebuild trust in a system where implementation keeps failing?
No, implementation is not failing. What keeps failing is leadership. It is this that drives implementation. It is not failing. Anybody who says implementation is failing is not. It is the leader. The leader is the visionary. He's the driver. It's like a driver who is driving a car. He knows the destination. He knows where it's going. So you cannot be a driver and know the destination and then put the car in reverse or stand one place. Will you get to the destination? No. So the leader, you're the driver of that vehicle. So nobody tells you, oh, nobody was waking me up to go to school in the morning. Nobody was telling me this is right or this. Anybody who tells you, it's like you see people today that are campaigning, like I'm campaigning to be president, and he gets there and he says, oh, what I saw when I got there. What were you seeing when you were campaigning? You think if you go there it will be roses? No. The reason why you were hired is because it was bad. If it was good, nobody will hire you. So you are hired not to complain, but to solve the problem. That's the leadership. You know, don't remind us about yesterday. Yesterday is gone. That's why I told very simple when he was there and I had the opportunity of debate. I said, what did you do? They came in and started pursuing people who stole this, who did this, who did that. I said, no. You can't close your shop and be chasing thieves. By the time you come back, they steal whatever is remaining. Your job is to say, enough is enough. Cut off here. Police, anybody, please help me to look for people who have stolen this. While me, concentrate on graduate. You were hired as a CEO of a failed company. So we didn't hire you to tell us that the man who left there caused trouble. Because we know already the position of that man when we are hiring you. So don't tell us about him, it's bad. Tell us, we want to see growth. It is that growth. We are the ones who are going to compare you and that man who left. Not you, don't remind us about him. Otherwise, you're pushing us back. You're making us think about yesterday. Those who concentrate and think about yesterday and today will miss tomorrow. We want you to drive us to tomorrow. So for me, that is what it should be.
On that note.
Well, you know, when you talk reliance on the West, I keep going back to one thing. It's leadership. Why are we going to rely on the West? Is it agriculture? Is it food? We can make more money today from agriculture than we make from oil. Very simple. We can make clearly more money. Netherlands, which is here, is a country with water, 41,000 square kilometers. Without water, 33,000. Annually, they make from export of agricultural related products, 120 billion euros. That is about $130 billion. That's 3 times what we make from oil. For somebody with 33,000 square kilometers of land. Our biggest state, which is actually very troublesome, has all the fertile land, everything, is Niger State. Niger State is 76.3 thousand square kilometers, 2.5 times the size of Netherlands. And Netherlands, and it's very fertile. And Netherlands is about 17 million people. Niger State is about 7. You can go on and on. The place that is giving us problem today is Borno State, where we have Sambisa Forest. Sambisa Forest area is agricultural land. It's not supposed to be giving us problem. The entire Sambisa area is 60,000 square kilometers. That is twice the size of Belgium. Belgium is about 30,000 square kilometers. It's 3 times the size of Israel. Israel is about 22,000 square kilometers. Times 3 is 66. Compared with 60, it's same size. And these countries are called, feed themselves and they export. Our own is causing us trouble. Why? It's a bush. Bring it down. Turn it into agricultural product. Today, Morocco is exporting food to Europe. The world is looking for food. Where we should be looking for food. We are a country that have all it takes to feed ourselves, be able to export more. Ukraine had war. The world was shaking because of grain. And if you don't know, Ukraine gave us, why they are still at war, they gave Nigeria grain to help us manage our hunger. That war. The entire Ukraine, northern Nigeria, is over 25 bigger than Ukraine. The entire Ukraine is about 600,000 square kilometers. Northern Nigeria about 750,000 square kilometers. So what are you? I can go on and on. If you go to third world countries like Bangladesh, for example, Bangladesh produces 10 times the amount of rice we produce. That is the third world country. I'm just giving you an example. Bangladesh is 158,600 square kilometers of land. Yet they produce 50 to 60,000 million metric tons of rice. We don't produce 10% of that. Our two biggest states, Niger and Borno, put together 76.3 and 70.8 put together is about the size of Bangladesh. And Bangladesh have almost 170 million people living there, so it's heavily dense. As against our own, where there's 17. I can go on and on. So you must move the country from consumption to productivity. It's not a rocket science. It is leadership. You must dismantle the criminality and say enough is enough. Let's move this country forward. And to move it forward is to invest your resources, your small. What do you mean dependent on the West? You can't be. What are you depending on them for? I can tell you we have better weather than this place. We have better food than they have. Our economy has better potential than that. I've lived here for 12 good years. I want to finish that and run back because nobody wants to stay in this weather. It's not food that they have or anything. No. We want to do it. We have a better environment. So we want to drive that process by having order and civility that works. And it's doable.
On that topic, you said that it seems agriculture is one area you think that could use reform. What would you say are the 3 immediate areas that Nigeria could use reform?
You know, I said about where you used to measure development. Number one is, you go to the HDI, which is the most critical measure of development. Number one item is health, life expectancy. Your life expectancy today is too low, at 54. It's unacceptable. Because comparable countries, Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, Philippines, are all above 65. So you can't be there. Number 2 is education, literacy rate. Go and check all these countries. They're all above 85 in literacy rate. And you are again at 50-something. Number 3 is pulling people out of poverty. We have more people living in poverty today than China, with 1.4 billion, and India with 1.4 billion combined. What's national poverty? It's unacceptable. And there's things you can do to drive this process. Power generation is not rocket science. I discussed this yesterday. The 3 countries that change power generation in 5 years are Egypt, Vietnam, and India. They're all 3rd world countries. I visited them. I went to Egypt. It's nothing. It's not okay. I mean, you people are in school here, so you know that it's not rocket science. If you're determined, the companies today in Europe, Siemens and everything, you can give a sovereign guarantee and say, we're going to deal with this and everything. Why is it not working? Leadership. Everything begins and ends with leadership. A leader must be dedicated and focused to do what is required. Everything that is required to make it work, you can do it. That's what makes a difference. Whether you see what happened in China or India or Indonesia and everything. I read a book this year, very beginning of this year. I read a book called Growing Apart. It's by Professor Lewis of Johns Hopkins. Growing Apart is comparing Nigeria and Indonesia. After reading it, I went to Johns Hopkins to meet Professor Lewis. And after meeting him, I decided to go to Indonesia. So I spent about 8 days in Indonesia, meeting for Minister of Planning, Minister of Education, Minister of Small Village, Minister of Health, meeting them, meeting the Vice President, and meeting their most popular president, Joko Widodo. You can go and check it out. We spend hours. And what they're saying is something that I know is doable. They did it, so we can do it. We're not inventing anything. We're not creating anything. It's something that's been done somewhere. A country that has similar trajectory and everything. Again, we had, by September this year, I met Professor James Robinson of Chicago University, who wrote Why Nations Fail. James Robinson was given Nobel Prize last year with his counterpart. And when he was in one of his lectures, he said, so many nations know what to do to prosper, but refuses to do it. Example of such nation is Nigeria. He didn't say example is Nigeria, he said it was threat. So I went to him. I sat down, I said, listen, I just came here to tell me what we didn't do. What he's saying is what I know. Leadership.
Thank you. So guys, put your hand up if you've learned something today. Okay. Keep your hand up if you're from Nigeria. Keep your hand up if you were born outside of Nigeria. However. Okay. So as we can see in the room, we have a lot of Nigerians and a lot of diaspora. And I think one thing that we'd like to know is what can Nigerians and the diaspora and just wider the African community do to impact Nigeria in the next decade?
Let me tell you one of the things people tell me every day. Oh, we have brain drain in Nigeria. Oh, we have brain drain in Nigeria. I say, no. It's not true. We have brain gain. I live here when most of the schools, top business schools, top schools, were full of Indians, Asians, Chinese, everything, here. It was the same thing in America. There was a time the Dean of Kellogg Graduate School, India, Dean of Kellogg, Oxford Business School, India, Cambridge, INSEAD, all India. What happened? They've all gone back. If you create, all these people who were born here, if you create a conducive environment in Nigeria, they will come. They will live here because there's nothing. Who wants to live in cold? They will not come. They will be the first to tell you they are Nigerians. Quote me anyway, they're Africans. We have lovely places, beach, everything. No. What is here? Absolutely nothing. We have family, we enjoy us. We have family, we want to we show we are more compassionate people, love each other. You want to live in an environment where even for people to greet you is very difficult. Why do you want to live in a place where they say, oh, how are you? My sister, how are you? My brother. We are very compassionate, lovely people who wants to, and we share each other's grief, pain, everything. Unlike here. You're on your own always. I'm telling you, but you need to, nobody gets up in the morning and go where there's the insecurity. Nobody will do that. If they tell you now, please, we are going to pay you the highest amount of money for you to go and work in Sudan, you won't go. Because you're not sure whether you'll be alive to enjoy what you're paid. So we need to fix it and make it work. And if we make it work, people used to come back in their droves. People who went to school abroad, when I was there, they won't come back. Most of them went there, but because there's nothing functioning, they can come back.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think you're keen to hear from the audience now, live.
Ooh, I thought we were finished.
Just have a few live questions if anyone has any.
So my question is like similar to the brain-drain conversation. So I'm second generation born in the UK, and I care a lot about Nigeria. I'm currently studying a master's in infrastructure and development, and I'd like to take that back home to Nigeria. But as you mentioned, it's not really conducive. But I guess someone like me, who's never lived in Nigeria, also doesn't really have the street smarts to live in a place like Nigeria to go back and make a change. So I guess the question is like, what can we do as members of the diaspora who's never necessarily lived in Nigeria, who actually care about Nigeria, to go back and actually make a change?
Thank you. First is that you have to start with advocacy to ensure that we have good leadership. You're not alone. I have 2 kids. They were born here, or virtually born here, and they're in their 30s. They don't live in Nigeria. But I can tell you, they don't even probably, they're not part of what I do. But I can tell you they will go back. Because whenever I have opportunity of meeting with them, I say, listen, you know it, we have better this, better this, better. And so start with advocacy. Start with telling people that things that are wrong, things like this. We don't have opportunity of people saying to people, you're not doing the right thing, you're not doing this, you're not doing... That's how Asians change their country. What you're learning now can help you to bring about change. And when it starts, some of you are going to be part of those who are going to come back to build that better society. Because you're going to have opportunity. When we talk about leadership, it's not just one person. No, it's a group of people. On all levels. Thank you.
My name is Joshua. I'm also from the Navy.
Okay. Okay.
I was specifically interested in how exactly do you think we can attract investment to education, seeing as it's not profitable?
To attract what?
Attract investment to education, seeing as it's not profitable. And how do you think
Investment in education.
in Nigeria,
Okay.
seeing as it's not profitable? And where do you think the private sector fits into politics in Nigeria? Like how do we shape the private sector to benefit Nigeria? How do we inspire that?
Is an investment a nation drives. When I was in school, University of Nigeria and Soka or Ibadan, if you finish as a degree, you come to Oxford here, they give you automatic admission to do your masters. Because the universities were first class. I had people like Chinua Achebe as my lecturer. People who went to Cambridge, Professor Ken and Zumiri, I can call all the notable names that used to be there. There were people who were educated in Oxford and Cambridge. And they were there as lecturers. But, hey, today it's changed. The quality has dropped. And that's why you have a problem. So it's not true. What is the private sector? Without a thriving private sector, no nation exists. Just like SMEs, you don't have a entrepreneurship. The reason why you don't have it is that you have corruption. Any place where people in government are richer than people who are doing business is collapsed. Because people are making money without entrepreneurship, with enterprise. It's not sustainable. So private sector drives the change. SME in particular. They are the ones who are going to create the job.
Niger State in Nigeria. On the topic of integrity, when we talk about things like criminality and corruption within Nigeria, they always say, "Oh, the leaders are a reflection of the people." So where does holding people accountable come from, or what does it start with the leaders or with the people?
It starts with the people. Is that the people who question, is it not those that voted Peter Obi in? Look at how the type of life he lives today. The people must. Yes, the leader. I'm not saying the leader should not. For you to be a good leader, you must be able to be self-examining. You must be able to question yourself. Is this what I promised these people? Is it what? But where that fails, in this country is a country of lawlessness. This country, you see. Do you know why it remains lawful and works? Because if I decide now to slap him, the number of police people that will come here, you will not believe that it's just because I slapped him. You have about 6 everywhere. If I decide now that go to my house in the UK here and say to my wife, walk out of this house, guess what she'll do? She'll call police. When police comes, you know who will walk out? Me. Me, the police will say, come out. She will go in. And I'm saying I'm the owner of the house. They don't want to hear that. If I go to Nigeria and say, walk out, police will come. I say, this woman, they will even tell me, looking at her face, they know she's a troublemaker. They cannot go away. So you must have, so because of it, there's orderliness. I know that if I do the wrong thing, the society will say no or check me. If I steal shoplifting, if I do this, if I shout, if I do this, so because of it, so the leadership, the people, of anything, the people will say no. If you go here and jump queue, the people will say to you, no, you can't jump. No. I see it every day. Where people say, oh, we're not in the queue. In our place, it is the people who are supposed to make queue will say, oh God, no, you can't queue up with them. So, it gives you a title. How can honorable queue? How can excellency queue? But your excellent person who is supposed to show example, you are not the one jumping queue. At least that jumping queue. Okay, don't mind. The queue is not meant for you. Who is it meant for? It's the people who say, no, you can't do that. What?
I'm from Ibadan. My wife is from Anambra State. So my question is, I was also born in Zaria, in the northern part of Nigeria. My question is, we all witnessed what happened in 2020. Then I also witnessed what happened in 2023. First, we protested, and you know what happened. I don't want to go into the details. And then 2023, I've heard all sorts of people that I know told me about how much irregularities happened in that election. How do we continue to believe in the democratic system where we can't protest, we can't trust our elections? And how do you stay motivated I assume you're going to run again. How do you stay motivated, and how do you advise us to feel?
1 million people can't be greater than over 100 million people. Registered voters are over 90 million. The people who are causing this confusion is not up to 1 million. If we stay on course, we will stop them. Because it will come at the time we will say, listen, you see this vote, if you don't count it, we will count you. If I tell you what I go through, you ask me why I used to doing this. But for me, no way. It's our country. Nobody, will stop me. Nothing. I want to see the change. I want to build a society where people's talent, hard work will match up the opportunity. Not what we have today.
Thank you so much. It's a inspirational. My name is Michael Corey. I'm from Ehimbano local government in Imo State. And talking about the Nigerian project, we've got over 200 million perspectives of life. a huge sociocultural diversity, one of the biggest anywhere on earth. On top of that, we've got multiple priorities. And then we have a very, very small minority who almost sound like a lone voice, who seem to be advocating for change. Now, I have faith and hope that change will come, but does that not give you cold feet? And then secondly, where do you start?
Well, they can't give you, you know what keeps the cow awake? Normal cows sleep when they move. You know what keeps me awake? Gadfly. That small thing that touches him on the nail and he does like this. That's what keeps him awake. So the society is changed by gadflies. You must stay committed to it and said, we cannot continue this way because it's not sustainable. What am I doing here? Most people here can't vote. I can tell you that. They wouldn't even come home to vote because some of them who can vote will not come. They will stay here on that day of voting, probably enjoying themselves in a Chinese restaurant or Chinese takeaway and so this and saying what is happening. They are not going to be there. So why am I going from one school to the other? Who else is doing this? So what am I doing? I should be where they are talking about how to share the whole thing. And say, this is for you, this is for you, this is for you, and this is for me. Let's go and get these things. No. I'm going around trying to bring a new order. And that new order is not going to be easy. That's why I'm here. None of schools where I've gone, including here, have I been paid for even speech making. I was very lucky today. They offered me even meat pie when I came, and I don't eat. And I don't eat meat. So it's complicated. So I'm going to finish this, run to the airport, do this and everything, rather than stay in my hotel, relax and everything and go. Because the actors and those who create the confusion are not here. They are somewhere plotting their game. But I want to change. I want that man in Niger State, whose state, 7 local governments is occupied by bandits. I want him to come back and say, no, these people, why did you think they're bandits there? Why do you think there's criminality in the north? Why is there poverty? You need to start pulling people out of poverty by educating them, by making it work. If you don't do it, you have a crisis. Thank you.
I just want to ask, leadership you said is very important, but when you are a leader and the people around you don't share the visions, I understand. I've been in Nigeria and I've just moved and I followed your campaign, your leadership journey. How were you able to manage other people, the bureaucrats who didn't like your vision, who probably want to fight the change you're bringing? Because most times as leaders, you have people who are also fighting.
You just have to drag them, yelling like. I recall somebody who called me and said, Peter, and he's a very respected elder, and somebody who was a Stanford graduate in 1967 and the first MBA class of Columbia. He said to me, Peter, I thought you were doing a very good job. I didn't believe what happened to you could have happened. And I heard that you refused to give people money. Because at the time, they wanted me to negotiate, and I said, I can't give you money for doing the wrong thing. Because the 3 days where I was impeached was very simple. Everybody knew my first impeachment. My office was burnt when I started. They budgeted 298 million naira to repair it. I did everything with 43,200,000. My lodge where I was going to live, the budget was 486 million. I did everything with 81 million. These were the reasons why I was impeached. And they said I have to give anybody. I said I'm not going to give anybody money. And he said, I thought, Peter, you were doing a good job, and nobody would have done this to you. I said, no, they didn't do the wrong thing. I was the driver because I said the leader is the driver. We had a vehicle full of passengers that have since passed their destination. What do you think they will do to that driver? They'll push him out because they want to go back to where they used to be. So change is not easy. You keep talking and talking and talking. If human beings, most of you here are Christians, Muslims, the Bible which you read in church and everything has not changed. That's what the pastor, priest, everybody preaches every Sunday. Yeah, people have not obeyed it. They have not changed. And it has not changed. Next year, it starts over again. That's what leadership. Your leadership, you must continually communicate. Tell people this is the right thing to do. People don't start doing the right thing and it becomes automatic. You just have to keep communicating it, saying this is this, that is this is this and everything. It's like every other thing in life, even your personal life. Some of you will grow up, be married, be everything and all that. Some people will say, oh, well, listen, as a philosopher who had a topic of love, I tell people, there's nothing, by the time you get married, everything changes. So if you see people who have lived 30 years like me, who is close to my wife for the past 30 years and everything, it is not 30 years of happiness. It is 30 years of us trying to manage our differences and agree. 30 years of disagreeing, 30 years of doing this, but always, that's how leadership is. That's why a leader will always say, oh, this is this. You keep pushing people, dragging them, yelling and crying, and everything, and that's it. Yes.
I have my back.
Okay.
But yes, I wanted to ask, I have two quick questions. I wanted to ask, what would you say are the most important qualities that a leader needs in Nigeria? Like, Nigeria is in a complex situation. So what does Nigeria need? And also, speaking about Niger State and the North that has so much potential, how do we bridge the gap between the literacy rates in the North compared to the South? Because we know obviously the literacy rates are higher over there, and so how do we do that, sir? Thank you.
Literacy rate in the North. I started to study what is happening in the North. Have you heard about Almajiri schools? Where school children learn how to do Quran. I go to those schools and I see little children in 10 years, 9 years, who can memorize the entire Quran, their Genesis. What you need to do, if they can't go to school, take school to them. So go to where they are learning the Quran, introduce mathematics teacher, English teacher, everything there. It's not rocket science. It can be done. And what is the leadership? What qualities you need in a leader?
Yeah, what qualities do we need in a leader for Nigeria?
Well, let me tell you, there's no special quality for a leader as long as it's competent. A leader must be somebody who is competent, understands nature. It's like they're hiring you for a job. You don't go and say to somebody, we are looking for a medical doctor. And you walk into, and somebody says, I did engineering. And you said, I'm sick. It's not competent. You tell I met you at the airport, so you fly. You know the pilot? No. The reason why you're there and they announce Captain this is that you believe he's qualified. So you can fly plane. If I had told you I'm the one going to fly, I'm sure you go down. Because I'm not competent. So you must have somebody who is competent, who has the capacity, the compassion, commitment, and character. You have evaluated the person. So presidency is not something you say, oh, Peter Obi speaks very good English. He talks very well at school. Oh, he has PhD. Educational qualification is not a measure of integrity. We need to know Peter Obi has been tested somewhere and our money did not miss. We need to know he has passed through a stage. He didn't live this type of life. He lives with his wife. He doesn't beat his wife and children. He doesn't fight everybody. We need to know who and who he is. There's so many things that makes it possible to say, yes, we've tried this one. Let's try this one.
First of all, thank you very much for this talk. It was very insightful, especially for the research that I'm currently conducting with my team. So my name is Matteo, I am studying at Imperial and I'm French. And so currently with a team of engineers from Imperial, we're researching on the topic of the intersection between food health, food security, as well as climate stress in Nigeria, and especially Lagos. And we've been doing some research and we're looking into the future of Nigeria, the future of Lagos, where there'll be a lot of rise in floods, rise in heat waves, and looking at the food security and the food health related to that. And it is a great shame because, as you said, in Nigeria, and in Africa as a whole, where we have so much space, where agriculture, the raw materials is really not an issue. I've done some research into the fact that in Nigeria, more than half of what is harvested in agriculture goes to waste, which is a great shame for the profits on these raw materials. So my question is, how could Nigeria tackle this? How do you see Nigeria tackling this and optimizing the agricultural profits in the future?
Like I said, the government has to support these farmers who are producing this food to ensure that there's a way they can manage their transition and be able to even have maybe companies that can support them by buying out from the farm produce, but most importantly, you need to support productivity, they're ensuring that industrialization. Because some of these are raw materials that should have been utilized immediately. So if you have today a GDP contribution from international in a developing country, less than 10%. There's no country that is developing that percentage. So if you have a productive sector, you're able to produce power, and people are productive, most of those produce from farms are actually raw material for industries. But we have no industries that is producing. The final one.
And I was born and raised in the UK, but ethnically from northern Nigeria, so Kano and Maiduguri to be exact. And as someone who hopes to serve northern Nigeria through health reform, what has taught you the most about guiding people who have stopped expecting systems to work for them? And how can, pardon?
Come again.
And how can emerging leaders rebuild that expectation in communities where trust needs to be earned?
Well, again, where trust needs to be earned, am I right?
Yes.
You see, when you talk about a leader, is somebody who has chosen to be an exemplary person. Imagine how you feel that I'm saying all these things I'm saying now, going around, and tomorrow I'm given the opportunity. You found out that I've stolen public money. Imagine if somebody comes out tomorrow and tell you, I've stolen money, that they found out that Anambra money was missing in my hand. I stole a lot of money. How will you feel? This man that comes around talking, you thought he's a human being, how could I have done this? Imagine what you feel tomorrow you heard that I was involved in a rape. Imagine how you feel that tomorrow, the things you see, you just ask yourself. Like I keep telling people when I was governor, I'm an alumnus of Oxford, Cambridge, Kellogg, Lagos Business School, University of Nigeria, and so on. I am this way. And my name is being mentioned. When they hear your governor, they mention your name and say, he's not, that one, he's not governor. And tomorrow, the same thing will happen when you steal. They'll mention your name in all those news. Everywhere I go, Nigerians, oh, let me take picture with you. Let me do. Imagine if they're snapping your picture where they caught you with drugs. You're all over the place. What name? How will you? You're a human being. You're finished. So in defending that character, if that brings you my behavior, everybody's watching me. They just think, hey, I cannot do this I can't live this type of life. I've gone to the remotest part of the world where I cannot imagine you see Nigeria. A Nigerian is there. Where you think that is this place that I came, one will appear. And shout your name and say you're this person. So imagine if you were doing the wrong thing. So you have to build that trust. It's a difficult thing for a leader. You are going to tell your parents today, maybe this person came to our school. Your parents are going to reply, that man is a thief. That man is bad. Is that what you want to do? No. You want to be able to tell, and that's why I said you invite other leaders to come so we have a discussion. So, my dear people, let me once again thank you for the opportunity of being part of you today. It is critical. I've learned a lot from you. All these questions you're asking me means a lot to me. I'm listening to it. I'm going to use it to reinforce what we're doing. And I assure you of my commitment, just like your commitment in finding that new Nigeria we are all desiring. That's commitment, that place we want to be. It is not something that is difficult. Nobody expects Peter Obi to be president and turn Nigeria around overnight. No. We are not expecting from our leaders 100% success overnight. All we're asking is 100% effort. So we know that this man is doing the right thing. He's behaving the right way. He's asking us to fast. And he's fasting. But don't ask people to fast when you're feasting. Whatever you desire. I tell people when I was governor, all of us will fly local economy. I fly within Nigeria till today economy. If the flight is going to be up to 4 hours, I'll find how I can fly business class. Because most times, like yesterday, my flight this morning out of Basel was exactly 5:55. I finished last night about 2 a.m., so I didn't need to sleep. And I've been awake since then. But because it's less than 2 hours, I flew economy, easy jet, because it's cheaper. Got it? Oh, people say, oh, what is jet? I say, oh, the person has easy jet. I say, no, don't worry. It's plane. I'm not going to take over the plane. It's just for it to 1 hour, 35 minutes, it will land. It's not going to, there's nothing. Say, oh, well, that's it. Oh, they're not going to give you, how easy jet. No water, no food, no nothing. I say, listen, I have made up my mind that I'm not going to get all those things. So I'm not expecting anything. Once you're not expecting something, it will not worry you. It's when you have expectation that you have a problem. But I know there's no water, there's no food, there's no nothing here. So I landed. I came here now. I know how I walk around in London. I'm going to Gatwick now to catch my flight to Lagos. Very simple. Enter High Street Kensington here. Underground to Victoria. Enter the line. Gatwick. Finish. By the time I complicate my matter now, hey, motor, officer this, he's stopping light, I'm shouting. But I have an easier way that makes it simple. The rest is my complication of my life by making it look as if I'm different from those who are inside there. No, it's not differentiation. It is that this is what is easy and affordable. And it hasn't killed anybody. It's just your feeling that I'm different from you. We're all children of God. And he created us equal. Whatever I am was by his grace. It's not by my might. It's not anything. So when I was in power, it's the same thing. I come to a place, they say, but it's the governor. How can you do this? I said, no. The governor is just somebody who is the leader of the team. Like I'm here. I've learned a lot from you people. And I want you people to continue this discussion as I live with other leaders, with everybody. You can bring the change. Because that abuse, I said before, we are doing today to that society will take its revenge on you. Be part of that change. God bless you.
In the heart of the city where stories unfold, Gentle Media TV shining bright and bold, bringing news from the corners of the globe.